Welcome to the defensive line introduction video of our 360 series. Today we're going to be looking at some of the common vocabulary and concepts we need to start understanding the position of defensive line. So to start off, we're going to learn the defensive positions, starting with the 4 defensive linemen. However, it is important to note that not all defensive have 4 defensive linemen. Some will use 5, others may use 3. However, a 40 front, meaning 4 defensive linemen, is the most common. Right now, you're in the point of view of a defensive end. If you look to your left, you can see the 3 other defensive linemen at the same depth as you, 1 yard off the ball. Behind you are the 3 linebackers. Off in the distance are the 5 defensive backs. Look back again at the defensive lineman closest to your left. This is the nose. Beside him, on the other side of the ball, is the tackle. On the other side, opposite of you, is another defensive end labeled the rush. Now, we're in that rush's perspective. You can still see the tackle and the nose to your right, as well as the end you were previously lined up at. All of us are lined up just in front of the line of scrimmage. This line marks where the football was at the end of every play and will be at the start of the next play. If the ball is outside of the hash marks when the last play ended, it'll be placed on a hash. This line of scrimmage separates the defense from the offense. As defensive linemen, we also have to respect the neutral zone. We cannot be closer than 1 yard from the ball before it's snapped. The next concept we need to introduce is the concept of strength. Every time the defense lines up, we need to determine who is going to line up where. To do this, before every play, we declare a strength. While there are a few different ways to determine strength, we use one main factor, the wide side of the field. So when the ball is on the right hash mark, the wide side is on the left. Therefore, we have a strong left situation. When the ball is on the left hash mark, we would be in a strong right. When we're in the middle of the field, like we are now, we default to strong left because we have to pick a side. The rush, where we are now, lines up on the strong side of the field, and the end is on the weak side. If we were changed to a strong right situation instead, the rush and the end would flip sides. Here we are now in the nose's perspective. Next, we're going to talk about the offense. Up, right in front of you, is the offensive line. In the middle with the ball is the center. On each side of the center are the guards, and on the outside are the tackles. They're responsible for blocking the defense to either run the ball or to protect the quarterback so that there's time to throw the ball. Behind the offensive line is what we call the offensive backfield, where we can find, first off, the quarterback, who's either going to hand the ball off or throw it. Beside the quarterback, you can find the fullback, who's usually like another blocker. Directly behind the quarterback is the tailback, who's typically going to run the ball. The formation they're currently aligned in is called offset I. We're going to learn some more about backfield formations in the future. If you look around, you can see a box has been highlighted around us, the offensive line, the linebackers, and the offensive backfield. This is called the box and is the area in which the run game typically happens. When you hear that term, the box, it's indicating this part of the field. Now, outside of the box is where the pass game typically happens. If you look out to your left, you can see the slot back and the wide receiver are highlighted. This is the same on the other side as well. As defensive linemen, we're not very concerned about them. Our job is to stop the run and, when they try to pass, get to the quarterback. Now, getting our eyes back to the offensive line, up next is talking about gaps, or the spaces between offensive linemen. The gap between the center and the guard is the A gap. Between the guard and the tackle is the B gap. And outside of the tackle is the C gap. Furthermore, we can differentiate between these gaps by using our strength. So, because we're still in a strong left situation, we can see the strong A on the left and the weak A on the right. Each defensive player has a gap responsibility. Right now, as the nose, and because we're lined up in the weak A gap, that is our responsibility. Behind us, to our right, we can see the will linebacker. He will likely be responsible for the weak B gap. One other way that we describe the nose is that we call them the one tech, or one technique. This means that we're lined up in the A gap. If we were a 0 technique, we would be lined up directly over top of the center. A 2 technique would be lined up directly over the guard. Finishing up on the weak side, we're back in the end perspective. In front of us is the weak C gap, which is our responsibility. Our primary job is contain. That means that if the ball carrier ends up coming to us, we need to make sure that he can't get outside. We contain the ball from getting outside. Next, we find ourselves in the tackle position, lined up in the strong B gap. Look over both shoulders and you'll see the Sam and the Mac linebackers. One of those two, depending on what the offense does, will be responsible for the strong A gap. Just like the nose, sometimes the tackle is instead called a 3-tech, meaning that we're lined up in the B gap. Again, being heads up on the guard would be a 2 technique, where we are in the B gap is a 3 technique, and if we were heads up on the tackle, that would be a 4 technique. Here we are again back in the rush position, where we're responsible for the C gap and contain, just like the end is, but only on the strong side. Now, before we move on to the next concept, let's take one last look at the fullback in front of us beside the quarterback. Even though we're still in the point of view of the rush here, now what we're going to do is we're going to watch the fullback come down at what we call sing formation, which means single wing, as he lines up beside the offensive line, but still 1 yard off the line of scrimmage. Now, the fullback has created a new gap, the D gap. Look back over your left shoulder. You can see that the Sam linebacker has moved over. He is now the one responsible for that strong D gap and takes our contain job. We still have the strong C gap, but we're not as worried about the ball carrier getting outside of us. Directly beside you is the 3-tech in the strong B gap. Behind him is the Mac lined up over the strong A gap. Then there's the nose in weak A, the Will behind him over the weak B, and finally on the other side is the end lined up in the weak C gap. And with that, we're at the end of this introduction video. Up next, we'll focus on how we read the offensive line to see how they're trying to attack us by building off of the concepts introduced here. See you there.